All right, everyone, there's a few brand new Switch stories we got to talk about today, starting with Pokemon Legends Arceus, as it is release week for this game, and Nintendo gave us another 6-minute overview trailer, now translated into English as it was previously only available in Japanese, and we got to talk about that. Then we also have to cover a big story that's been making the rounds over the weekend, suggesting that we may be in line for a second Kirby title for 2022, or at least an unannounced Switch title of some sort. And I also want to have a larger conversation on why that could point to a potential for sure February Nintendo Direct. Then the big talking point for today's video is Zelda Ocarina of Time, and a story we talked about previously suggesting that the PC port is almost completely done, about 90% there according to the development team. And we got to talk about why this is such a big deal and what it means for the future of Ocarina of Time as a whole. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we're covering a few different stories today, and we got to kick it off with Pokemon Legends Arceus, as it is officially launch week for this game. And if you know me and you've been around on the channel for a while, I've been very ready for a change to the traditional Pokemon formula. And while I've managed to avoid all spoilers of this game so far, I am hearing a lot of opinions and discussion online about how big of a change this really is to the classic formula and how much people who have been playing the game are enjoying these changes. So personally, I'm going in with a high level of expectations on what this game will deliver. I definitely think from everything Nintendo has shown us officially, it looks incredible. I am super excited for the large scale exploration that looks like it will be a central part of this game. And then also, of course, the combat system just being completely changed up, with Pokemon essentially having the ability to attack you directly while you're walking around. It doesn't have to transition to that classic battle scene, and I'm just really excited for what that means later on in the game when we're approaching some of the crazy high level Pokemon. Like, I want my heart rate to be up in games. I typically like very intense, fast combat styles, and I think that this is going to kind of scratch that itch when it comes to the Pokemon side of things. And just with how long it's been since we've seen Game Freak really drift from anything outside of what we could have expected on the Game Boy series, like back in Red, Yellow, and Blue. Like, it's kind of crazy to think that they've stuck to really the same core, which obviously they've added on different mechanics and changes along the way, but that same core formula of how you go about capturing your Pokemon and going through the gym sections and everything, like the same core game has been there this whole time. And I think people who grew up with the series like I did are very ready for some kind of new direction. And while this isn't necessarily a Breath of the Wild version of Pokemon, as you do have a core central home base from the sounds of everything, and you go out on various missions, it's definitely a large step in that direction. And I don't think every game has to get the Breath of the Wild treatment. I just think it's cool to see a new style of gameplay at the end of the day, and really a shake up to the overall experience. So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below if you are planning on picking up this game, what you think of the 6-minute English translated overview trailer, as I will have that linked in the description down below under the sources section. So if you do want to watch that, if you haven't already, definitely feel free to after this video, and let me know where your hype levels ultimately fall as we are in launch week for Pokemon Legends Arceus, and whether or not you're picking up the game this Friday. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys on all things Pokemon in the comments down below. Now, the next story we're talking about today has to do with an unannounced Nintendo Switch game making the rounds over the weekend, as there is a Japanese magazine publication that has claimed that they will reveal one in their February 21st magazine issue, and this has a lot of people speculating what it might be. There's some confusion around the translation of what exactly was said, and some people think this means it is a second Kirby game set for 2022, and I personally read this and thought, like, yeah, it's going to be cool if it's Kirby or anything else, but it's also very interesting timing around when you would typically expect announcements to happen for new games in February to be part of something like a February Nintendo Direct. So we'll speculate on when we might see that Direct actually take place, but I do want to kick off this conversation by hopping over to Nintendo Life, where they have a full breakdown of what was said and some interesting follow-up translations on why this could either be another Kirby game or just some other unannounced Switch title. So let's quickly read through this article together. Japanese magazine Nintendo Dream might be teasing a new game. Could it be another Kirby title? Kirby and the Forgotten Land is arriving on Switch this March, but it turns out Nintendo might have a little bit more planned for the Pink Puff in the near future. According to translation by Twitter user DDDeo, as spotted by VGC, the upcoming February 21 issue of Japanese publication, Nintendo Dream, could possibly reveal a new game. It's apparently unclear if it would be another Kirby title or just a new game in general, but considering 2022 marks the 30th anniversary of this adorable mascot, there's a chance it could be Kirby themed. Here's a full translation of the teaser in the current January issue of Nintendo Dream, along with the picture of the same segment featuring a picture of Kirby and friends. They're quoted here saying, "New issue will release it on Monday, February 21. In addition to detailed news about Kirby and the Forgotten Land, we've also included a new game that we didn't expect. I have a feeling that a new title will be unannounced." We can then read the artwork in question here in the following tweet. "Even if new game is not Kirby related, it means that we are likely getting Nintendo Direct in the first half of the month because of new game reveal." Nintendo Life user Max Z notes the following about the above translation. A somewhat crucial line omitted from the translation is the following, which means sorry if it isn't announced. Hopefully something will be revealed, but there appears to be no guarantee. My reading of it is that it won't necessarily be a Kirby game. The following reads like a new title in that series. Technically the word series isn't mentioned, so a new title for that would be more accurate, but I assume that series is implied. So regardless of what this unannounced Switch title might actually be, whether it be a second Kirby game, which I would be all for if done right, I am super pumped for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Like, that's absolutely going to be a day one pickup for me. But you know, it may be Kirby, it may not. That's all up for debate and speculation. But regardless, the reason I found this, pretty notable and interesting is because February 21st is the date that this magazine drops. And of course, we will have a unannounced Switch game featured in the magazine. Now, whether or not it's just a shadow drop Twitter announcement that Nintendo sometimes does to reveal games, or if it's something that's tied to a mainline Nintendo Direct, the timing would absolutely line up to somewhat be able to expect a first of the month February Direct. And that could mean, most likely I would say like 8th, 9th, or 10th, or potentially 15th, 16th, or 17th. Now, obviously, if you look at Nintendo's history, they always hold a first of the year Direct, and we've seen them do that as soon as the month of January, which is looking very unlikely for this year, especially considering that we are now in Pokemon Legends Arceus launch week. Like, Nintendo doesn't like to overlap certain things, and I think a Direct would be highly unlikely to expect for this month still. Then you have all of the month of February, and they've done numerous Directs in the month of February over the course of time, and in some cases we do see them hold one in March as their first of the year Direct, although that is a little bit less common than the February time slot. And if I'm a betting man, as I mentioned, I think the beginning half of February is the most likely place to put our expectations right now in terms of seeing a new Nintendo Direct announced. So I'm very pumped for the next Nintendo Direct. There's a lot of reason to be hyped as a Nintendo Switch fan in the year of 2022, as this year is just looking to be truly stacked, as where all the developers are really still playing catch up from the pandemic, and in some cases it means we had light years and years like 2020, and even some games in 2021 were pushed back, and that now means we're getting like a stacked lineup for the year of 2022. So I'm personally very hyped for the next Direct presentation to take place. I will be hyped if this is a second Kirby game slotted for this year or something totally new that's unannounced. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below when you would personally predict that we'll see the next Nintendo Direct, and whether or not you think that this game indicates that it is in the first half of February, or if you think this is totally unrelated to that and it's just some kind of other project that's maybe smaller and not really notable or worth the focus. So I love to hear from you guys on both sides of the fence, regardless of where you fall on this, in the comments down below, and which games you're most hyped for as a whole in the year of 2022 as a Nintendo Switch fan. Now, the last story we're talking about today has to do with Zelda Ocarina of Time, and a very exciting update for the future of this game in terms of multiple upgrades it can receive, multiple versions that will become playable, and really just a celebration of the game preservation for this title as a whole. And you may remember on the channel previously, we covered a team that actually did a full decompilation of Ocarina of Time. They painstakingly recreated the game from the ground up in parsable C code, which essentially allows people to start working on things like PC native ports of the game. They do it in a legal method where they're not using any of Nintendo's original copyrighted assets, but actually recreating everything from the ground up. And we've seen this happen with Mario 64, which then allowed for a bunch of very cool features to be enabled, such as native widescreen support, such as 60 frames per second, and a bunch of different exciting mods that allow people to go back in and play this game in a very new way in even, years and years after its release. So this is a big win for me, as most recently we've been covering Ocarina of Time and the NSO performance, which thankfully Nintendo is finally starting to slowly address. And while it's not fully fixed yet, I am hopeful that it will become fully like the best way to experience the game in terms of the N64 version, because of course the best way is the 3DS version, which I still hope we either get that ported over or remastered from the ground up on the Switch in the future. But regardless, it will be the best way to play that game in terms of the N64 version if Nintendo can tweak a few more things to get the emulation running smoothly. But to kick off this conversation with the PC port and what this means for the future of Ocarina of Time, I do want to hop over to VGC, where they have the exclusive report on this and break down all of the details that this means for the future of Ocarina of Time. So let's quickly read through that together. Exclusive: a fully functioning Zelda 64 PC port is 90% complete. The fan-made PC port could release as soon as next month, its developers have told VGC. A fully functioning fan-made PC port of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is nearing complete and could be released within weeks, VGC can reveal. Harbor Masters are a group of community developers who are currently working on the PC port of the Nintendo 64 Classic, which they estimate is already 90% complete and could release as soon as mid-February. Just like a fan-made PC version of Super Mario 64 released in 2019, the Zelda port will feature support for multiple resolutions and modding of assets, the group told VGC. Harbor Masters' work, although totally separate from the Zelda reverse engineering team ZRET, follows the completion of the 2-year fan project last year, which successfully reverse engineered a version of Ocarina of Time into compilable C code. A similar decompilation project eventually led to the Super Mario 64 PC port. This kind of reverse engineering is made legal because the fans involved did not use any leaked content nor use any of Nintendo's original copyrighted assets. Speaking to VGC, Harbor Master developer Koenig said that the group started working on its PC port virtually as soon as Ocarina of Time's code was fully reverse engineered. The group is calling its port Ship of Harkonnen, which is a reference to a line of dialogue in the infamous Zelda CDI spin-offs. He's quoted here saying, "I'd give it approximately 90%. We've been hoping to complete by the middle of February and use another month or so until April 1st to refine the game before release. We're hoping to have a public repository available in late February." Koenig said that Harbor Masters team plans to go above and beyond what the Super Mario 64 fan port delivered back in 2019 with the number of enhancements over the original N64 version of Ocarina. You can see the first images of Harbor Masters port below. So you can then see a few different screenshots actually featuring that this game is already running in widescreen, and the interview does continue to go on to explain that it will launch with widescreen support out of the gate. And then also they mentioned that they have a clear roadmap for 60 FPS support as well. So that's very exciting. They also have a lot of core tools built in to make ray tracing and things very possible and enable higher graphical textures and all of these different kind of hacks and mods that will essentially be very easy to add into this game. And if some of the Super Mario 64 footage we've seen over the course of time with that native PC port is anything to reference, there is a lot of exciting possibilities that could come from this game being released is as soon as, being able to play a version of it, it sounds like by mid-February, and then being officially released in the beginning part of April. So I will definitely have my eyes on this one. If you guys know anything about me and you've been around on the channel for a while, you will know that Ocarina of Time is essentially the first game I ever became truly obsessed with, and it really got me into the Zelda series as being my favorite series of all time. So it's a big deal for me to see this highlighted in the news, and I'm very happy that the team is taking the time to do things like setting up Ocarina of Time for future generations, future game preservation, to be able to be played in all of these variety of new possibilities and new ways that we maybe haven't even thought of yet. So I would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below what you think of this news and information, whether or not you'll be planning on keeping your eyes on it as well and seeing what kind of footage and new gameplay modes we could see added into Ocarina of Time down the line, and where your hype level falls for this project as a whole. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys on all the different stories we covered today in the comments down below, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.